The current mood in the crypto world is very well reflected by the German weather. It's an ice age. But is that it already? So today, several important factors are added. Additionally, Solana is at rock bottom. We will also take a look at that. I have updates on XRP and Elon Musk, who may also be committing abuse of office here and simultaneously really harming crypto. Lastly, no second to last, I also have a platform that is supposed to generate passive income for you. I've taken a closer look at it because I've been asked about it more frequently. And then there's also the trading setup. I think we should just dive right in. We'll see each other after the intro. Now new, UP Trend VIP Trading. Your opportunity to copy the signals of two professional traders for free. They managed to grow an account from $4,000 to $30,000 within 2 months. The results in the group are also impressive. All you need for this is a deposit of $100 into your BingX account. You can find all further information below in the description. Let's start with a quick look at the heat map. Yes, it is consistently deep red. Today, we will take a detailed look at Solana to see what's going on there. Also, XRP. As mentioned, all in all, I already talked about Solana yesterday and explained exactly where the price will be if yesterday's zone is not maintained. So if you want to receive such signals early, feel free to join Uptrend. Trading is completely free. It's my Telegram group, link in the description below. So besides the community group where you can also exchange ideas, you will also receive such information early and won't be caught off guard. But before we dive in completely, I want to express a huge thank you because it's not a given. The mood is currently completely shifting. You can also feel that new users are hardly entering the market because it's actually worse than a bear market. And yet also the video yesterday received almost 4,000 clicks. 189 positive likes. So once again, a huge thank you at this point. And if you want to continue supporting my work, my hours of research and my channel, you can do this completely for free by simply leaving a like, which boosts the algorithm, or by writing a comment. I'm curious to see who will follow through and if this might be your first video now. And if you're looking for a channel that delivers fact-based, open, honest, and transparent daily crypto news plus a trading setup, then welcome. You too can become a trendsetter. Just leave a free subscription, activate the bell, and you're in. And now let's get started. First, quickly, a look at Solana. There are several reasons, or rather predictions, as to why the price might be weakening right now. I have a slightly different opinion on this, and I've written about it. Then, yes, of course, people like to blame it on the meme coins because they say, well, wait a minute, and the investors have now realized they are being fooled across the board. Yes, well, that was before Trump, Melania, and LIBRA. Also already the case. Well, LIBRA, that was certainly a big deal, no question. I can show you that briefly here again. It is now being denied that any form of advertising was done here. Well, you can leave it at that for now. The question is simply why the Argentine president even comes up with the idea of sharing any meme coin on X. So, you should have realized at the latest, since Trump, presidents do have a sewer reach and a certain level of trust, they also have a voter base behind them. So I just don't understand something like this. And supposedly he has already involved authorities with anti-corruption and has had the whole thing reviewed again and is having it reviewed. Well, in the end, sorry folks, so the damage is already done. In any case, this is probably the big break for the investors who have now said, no, we suddenly don't want Solana anymore. I think a bit differently about that. It might be a reason, you can find a reason anywhere, but please don't forget the traditional markets were closed yesterday. And if you look at the heat map in such in detail, the market makers might have cleverly used these situations. By the way, if you're not following me on X yet and want to have such topics fresh off the press, you can catch up on that. Either enter the username or check the description. A second reason, that could indeed, it might get a little unpleasant. This concerns the topic of token unlocks. We are talking about $2.5 billion US. That on March 1st, 2025 will be released. At this point, one must not forget that with every Solana transaction, Solana is also burned. And on the other hand, one can certainly expect that these unlocks will occur. And where? Indeed, some investors are also willing to hold on because they are hoping for larger price jumps in the future. So, personally, I don't believe that the story of Solana is over. But who knows, in this cosmos, anything is possible. But you can also simply notice this bearish sentiment. Everything negative is being blown out of proportion 5 times over, and the positive news seems to not be getting through at all. Now, let's take another quick look at the Bitcoin chart. We initially had this significant downtrend here, but here this volume area was quite thoroughly tested. Then there was already a forecast, which, by the way, is still in play. If we continue to slide down, we could slip into the area around 94,000. Quite realistic. So there's still quite a bit of volume that can be picked up there. However, there was a trend reversal there. If you look at the other charts at the current time of this recording, there was suddenly this trend reversal everywhere. And now it strongly looks like, even if you take a look at the volume block here, that we might run back into this range. So something around 96,026 plus or minus. We'll have to wait and see how it goes from there. To some extent, the news will logically also play a role in deciding. I will soon get to Trump and others, who is also giving a speech today. It's just not entirely clear when. Maybe it has already been released by the time this video is public. In any case, as I said, there are several areas that could be tested. The tendency, well, it's hard to determine right now. Honestly, I'm not going to pretend to have a crystal ball here. I will continue to follow the chart, and I will keep you updated in the respective groups or on X. What remains a pretty positive sign, however, is the Bitcoin dominance. Nothing has collapsed here. As I said, I explained it in a previous video, which is why I left this circle, that a Bitcoin dominance, as was the case in the last bull run, in my opinion, will not just be shaved off anymore because there is too much volume in the market. If you want to see that in detail again, feel free to click on this video. And now directly onto Musk and his possible abuse of office. Listen until the end, then you can make your own decision. Or simply write in the comments what my thesis is. You might have noticed DOGE has made a public call. Keyword, waste of taxpayers' money at the SEC. And they are supposed to help there. Now you might rightly ask yourself, well, why would a crypto enthusiast care if the SEC is attacked? Yes, so what's supposed to be negative about that? They're not exactly best friends and all. Well, that was the case under Gensler. But by now, there are already some capable minds working there. Now the question arises, if Musk wants to cut funds accordingly, could that even be negative for crypto? And that brings us to the next question, because it seems like no one has this on their radar yet. There is also an ongoing lawsuit from the SEC against Mao and Musk. And that's been active since mid-January, so still relatively current. It's about investors allegedly being misled during the Twitter acquisition. So you might remember there was a back and forth. He's buying, he's not buying, he's buying, he's not buying. He did buy after all. Well, Gensler initiated the whole thing back then and added another twist to it. But now the big question is, does he perhaps want to cut the funds so that such proceedings might not be pursued further? So it's just a figment of imagination right now. But to me, it kind of screams that he, as the head of the agency, is now going against the agency that has filed a lawsuit against him as a private individual. Sounds like a cool crime thriller, doesn't it? So as I said, feel free to write your opinion in the comments. I'm curious to hear what you have to say about it. What I'm going to talk about now is a platform. Before we move on to XRP, let's briefly discuss the platform I've been asked about more frequently, which is why I decided to test it out. With Moonacy, you should be able to build passive income starting from just $100. And then you should get a return of about 1% per day. I'm always extremely critical about things like this, so let's do a quick recap where I'll explain the use case to you, what this platform is all about, what it does, what's behind it, and whether it works, because I've also made an investment here. And afterwards, I'll reveal what else I've discovered. Now let's continue directly, and we can already see some significant figures. So Trustpilot by community, we have Trustpilot with a full star rating. And again, here daily payouts of over $100,000. And apparently, the exchange's revenue is $2 million per day. So that's quite a statement. And with that, I will now get to the general message of this platform, or rather, the use case. So there are liquidity pools according to the statement, and you invest in them and then receive a fixed amount paid back daily. And that's up to 2.5% per day, where I usually say, wow, be careful. But as I said, I don't want to prejudge it in any way. Let's just see how the whole thing is supposed to work. Then apparently there's an exchange linked to it. What made me a bit suspicious? So far, it's the fact that you can exchange essentially, but it's not a decentralized exchange. So you see here at Crypto Exchange, let's just click in, that you have the option, for example, like here, to exchange Bitcoin or other assets against, for example, USD, Tether, Tron, or Ethereum. Or we have here BEP20. So BNB coin, etc. Aave is included, EST20, and so on. So to exchange everything against each other. And then you simply enter your recipient address down here. Then you click on Exchange Now, and you are shown where to send your assets. So for me personally, this is a bridge. Now, of course, I also took a look at the white paper. So fundamentally, there is no own token. Personally, I don't find that bad because it doesn't necessarily have to exist. That's usually just a means to collect liquidity in some form. And then there's a bit of gambling, based on supply and demand, of course. What I find particularly important, and why I assume that this entire platform will continue to develop, is that you can see these plans you have here. So depending on how much more you deposit and also lock your capital, meaning it's locked away on, you receive corresponding daily returns. We'll take a closer look at that in detail in the back office shortly. And if you go further here, you'll see various explanations again regarding these liquidity pools, etc. You can read through all of it in detail, and you can see the investors well here. Let's continue. Take a look. What I wanted to show you is the roadmap. It should be somewhere around here. Exactly, right here. On the roadmap, you can see again that the whole project is definitely very, very new. So in Q1 2025, what is already planned, especially regarding the trading pairs, where more and more are to be added? Improving liquidity, you have here, partnering with market makers. So it's of course important to establish the appropriate partnerships and so on and so forth. Then Q2, Q3, Q4. So the whole thing that is already quite extensively planned, what is supposed to come? Let's go directly to the back office, which is relatively Spartan in design, but offers you all the possibilities of how you can earn money. And you can also share your link further. This is possible, even without you having invested in any form. It works on 3 levels. So that means first level 7%, second level 2%, third level 1%. As I already mentioned at the beginning, I was repeatedly contacted about this project, which is why I eventually said, all right, I'll take a closer look at it because I'm very critical. However, I will not invest my own money. This means, very important for communication, the money you see here was not added by me, but by the team, which I did not know at the time of this recording, and it was directly implemented into a plan. I will show you this shortly, which is why a payout of 66.49 is apparently already possible. We will also test that. I will now show you the rest of the back office, which is not overly complicated. So you see here deposit, and there you have the options to choose from a corresponding plan. So for example, this means you get 0.95% daily, starting from a minimum deposit of $100 updates to $10,000. So as you can see, these 7,000 USDC are in this plan. Then there's the middle one, which starts at 10,000, and from 30,000 you get 1.85% daily, and from 5,000, with a 50,000 deposit, you get 2.5% daily. How can you execute the whole thing? It's relatively simple. You have USDC here, then you enter the amount you want to deposit. Depending on that, you can also see what your daily income is. So for example, if we enter 500 now, then that's what comes out. Then you click on continue here. and then you can make your deposit accordingly. That's it. For withdrawal, you can see what's possible here. As I said, I will follow this over the next few days and then try to make a withdrawal. As already mentioned, I went on a separate search here because I'm always quite critical of things like this. What I found now is that you can start an API integration here. So that means you can incorporate the values provided by Moonacy into your own Awakura system. I think that's fundamentally a good thing. You can also see the corresponding solutions behind it here. A payment system which is supposed to be coming soon. And this crypto exchange, so I asked about that again. I basically talked about a bridge. Yes, according to the explanation, we are talking about a cross-chain exchange here. Okay, so far so good. However, it must be said that this exchange is really cheap. Then we're talking about fees of 1% here. So if I compare that now with the previously existing bridge, then it is indeed cheap. At least in my opinion. I haven't found a cheaper one so far. The big question that always arises is, how are the profits generated? And basically, it can be noted here that revenues are generated logically, and indeed, this exchange should have a certain attractiveness even for regular users. I have nevertheless inquired again, so we also checked the transaction wallets, and at this point, I must say this is not investment advice. Do your own research. However, at this point, we couldn't find anything particularly noticeable because a cash flow is naturally present. I nevertheless inquired again and received this statement. The revenues from the exchange fees fully cover the daily payouts to investors as well as the interest of the team. This naturally requires maintaining a certain trading volume. That's what I mean. So it's clear that if this exchange were no longer used and fell to zero, I personally wouldn't know how these payouts could be maintained in any form. However, one can say that if the use case is given, if the whole thing is well known and also used, and we're talking about corresponding trading volumes, well, then a cash flow is definitely present. Since, according to statements here, there are also reserve funds, the whole thing should be covered in case of a potential failure. So, I'm very curious about it. I personally will definitely continue to follow the whole thing. And if you're interested in that, then I will also provide 1 or 2 updates on it. So, as I said, feel free to write about it in the comments. And now directly onto XRP. Yes, people are talking about Solana and XRP being in the negative. In the end, Bitcoin is in the negative and everything else is reacting to it. What some might not have on their radar yet is that Trump and Putin are meeting for a discussion today. And that could be quite interesting because, and depending on how this conversation goes, it could possibly also be the reason why Trump is giving a speech today. And yes, as I said, this could of course go in either direction. So today could be quite exciting because we remember just the announcement that Trump is in talks with Putin turned the last a negative event regarding inflation numbers completely back into the positive. According to Polymarket, there is an 81% probability that the XRP ETFs could come in 2025. Then the Yandot clock is ticking. So no matter what decision comes now, of course, a rejection could also come, but I have reported on it. The corresponding application has been submitted. Feel free to click here for the full video. And now the clock is ticking for a maximum of 240 days. The decision can also be made earlier, but the decision must be made after these 240 days, either yes or no. So, as I said, the time window is set and thus a decision will be made one way or another this year. Additionally, we also have the distributions to the FTX creditors, and this is done in dollars, by the way, at the time value back then. So this doesn't mean that if you had 3 Bitcoins there, you would now get nearly 300K, but rather, at the time of the crash, this money will be paid out. And now the big question arises, which many are running around asking and saying, yes, and the investors will immediately throw the money back into the market. Sure, there are certainly some experienced investors who now say, yes, now more than ever, I'm going back into the market. However, whether the entire volume from FTX will really flow back into the market, Well, I dare to doubt it. Don't let yourself be driven crazy just because there are wild predictions again. Like, yes, the Bitcoin rally is starting immediately because let's wait and see. As I said, the repayments, they start today, and then we'll see what effectively flows in as capital. What most people don't have on their radar, however, is the WIX chart. This is the volatility index. You can see right now, there are capital flows leading into it, which in turn suggests that institutional investors are increasingly hedging against turbulence. Today we have Trump's speech. Perhaps that's a possible reason. So, of course, this can also decline relatively quickly again. But let's wait and see what else happens today. By the way, this chart or many other pieces of information, especially those coming from institutional sources, I regularly receive information from Christian Berger, the hedge fund manager, who also has his own Telegram group and reveals knowledge accordingly. If you're interested, feel free to check the description, then you can check it out. I won't take credit for others' work, but I gladly gather all the information for you. Now, briefly about the trading setup in the account that I manage for someone else and share the complete results with you transparently. Share. That's why you can see it well here. We are currently stuck in a significant loss. That's not a big deal for now because I'm waiting it out so I can show you here as well. I've set a limit order down here, but the big question now is, was that the bottom formation or not? There might be some volatility coming in again regarding Trump, and if you look at this now, this volume block that was here until recently has been consumed. Breakfast served. Now it went further up, and now the big question is, are we targeting this area again? I've set the limit order there again, or is it going to continue upwards now? If you take a look at the volume here in general, although it looked like this yesterday too, it's much higher up. And I already thought yesterday that it wouldn't go down any further here, but that's how it was. I'm doing DCA here right now. As I said, down here, I've just placed it down below. If it hits this area again, that's good. Then it takes the liquidity from me and starts fresh into the order again. And thus also lowers my average purchase price. Or we really continue to rise further up now. Let's just wait and see. A quick look at Bitcoin again. By the way, all major tokens and coins you look at, they all suddenly had this breakout. So is there perhaps manipulation or something at play? I'm slightly in the negative there. Just to be safe, I've also placed a limit order down here. So the video is a bit longer this time. I hope not too long. Feel free to write in the comments if the information is helpful to you. That's personally very important to me. Or if I should include more or less focus more on trading. I'm really curious about that. Otherwise, if you liked the video, I would be thrilled if you could leave a free like. It really boosts the algorithm immensely and helps the channel grow nicely. And finally, I can give you a tip, especially regarding these XRP ETFs. I recently talked about it. Feel free to check out this video where you get all the detailed information on how quickly such an ETF could come, what is relevant for it, and so on and so forth. Enjoy watching. We'll see each other tomorrow for the next update. Until then, all the best. Bye.